Okay, starting, and we are restarting, and hopefully this time it will go okay. Live from Studio 21 here in Belmopan. Welcome to another in the series of our online town hall meeting. Tonight we are fortunate to be here with you, and we will continue with our topic of economic development. But for now, we wanted to look at what's happening in Belmopan and the letter that we have received from the party today, this evening.
Yes,
but before we go into it all, can you say, somebody give me a indication? Amira, are you hearing us?
And seeing us.
And seeing us.
Like a minute delay.
Okay, but that's okay. We just want to hear from someone out in Facebook land to please confirm that yes, you are able to hear us. We are trying tonight a new gadget. Okay, yes, hearing and seeing. Okay,
Beautiful.
all right.
All right, good night. Let me dispense with the preliminaries this evening. We are now in possession of a letter from the Vetting Committee of the People's United Party, directly from the desk of the Secretary General, where he lays out the position of the party's executive and leadership as it relates to my candidacy in Belmopan. Let me read. Dear Mr. Saldiva, please be advised that the Vetting Committee established by the National Executive has reviewed your application to contest the post of standard bearer for the People's United Party in the Belmopan constituency. Following its deliberation, the committee requested and you agreed to a meeting which was held on Thursday, 26th July 2018. The committee would like to thank you for your cooperation and forthrightness in answering all questions at that meeting. It is the decision of the committee that your application be denied for a number of reasons, including but not limited to your public statements and actions, and especially your legal claim, which you continue to pursue despite the fact that your application was accepted and vetted just like every other aspirant, including elected area representatives. The committee reminds you that as a member of the People's United Party, you swore an oath to abide by the Constitution, discipline, and decisions of the party, and hopes that instead of continuing with this personal crusade, you can renew your commitment to be an active and engaged member and help continue the work to serve the people. Well, to that I say this. I will serve the people, continue to serve the people. I do not accept what has been brought forward in this correspondence. I do not know to what public statements the Secretary General refers. It is signed Linsford Castillo, this letter. I do not believe that my application was vetted in a fair manner, and I do not respect this decision. However, that said, I will have every resident of Belmopan appreciate one fact. I was brought to the People's United Party by George Price, and George Price has been the foremost founding member of the People's United Party. He is no longer with us, sadly. And sadly, the principles and philosophy that he inspired no longer resides at number 3 Queen Street. I have come now to that realization. The political institution that I have been a part of for all of my adult life no longer supports the philosophy and ideology of George Price, that of inclusion, that of social justice, that of pursuing every means to ensuring that the Belizean population is given true, competent, and effective representation. It is my considered view that by way of this letter, the trustees of the People's United Party have set upon a course to stifle, suppress, and deny freedom of speech, self-determination, and every principle that George Price stood for.
And look at the day they chose, Arthur. Very significant day.
We are one day removed from Emancipation Day. As many who know, Emancipation Day was marked on the 1st of August 1838 for British colonies and those who were enslaved under the most oppressive and exploitative regime known to man, that called slavery. Bob Marley says, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." I have been emancipated a long time ago, and it is my intention, it is my call to do what I can to assist anyone listening to me to be in a position to emancipate themselves as well. So I hold no bitterness. I am still a member of the PUP up until now. I will invite you, the residents of Belmopan, the voters of Belmopan, to tell me, what do you consider as the best way forward? I will entertain your advice, give it every consideration, and at the end of the poll, because we are going to have a poll as to whether I stay the course with the People's United Party and be patient, or we move together. Your servant, with your support, to contest the Belmopan seat in the next general election.
Moses Self writes, "Good night, Mr. Saldiva. You have your freedom of speech. They have already decided they don't want you to run, and they do all they can. This is shameful. The PUP continues with its show of pettiness and arrogance. They will not win the next election. Somehow, there are those in the party who believe it is inevitable that they form the next government. So they believe they can do anything and just let families and friends run."
I am very, well, I understand the sentiment, Moses, and certainly I would want to concur to a certain degree, but at this particular point now, since we have that out of the way, I want to get to what the business is at hand. These matters will resolve themselves. I go forward. What will happen from here in terms of the People's United Party and myself within it, there will be a series of convulsions. And throughout that series of convulsions, you will be hearing things coming from various sources. I have friends, I have family in the People's United Party. They will remain my friends. However, it is time to chart a new course. I will not be a part of any other unincorporated association. I believe that unincorporated associations like the PUP and the UDP are not the way forward for us as Belizeans in our development politically and economically. We need to have accountability from the onset. We cannot build a proper political home on a faulty foundation. What must be borne in mind that in 1948, when the People's Committee was formed, we were under British colonial rule. And by virtue of being under British colonial rule, associations were formed in secret to carry out the course of self-determination. So there was a reason why political parties were not registered and why the PUP was not registered in 1948, 1950. But by 1981, when we became independent, we were given the legitimacy and recognition as an independent nation. That status of unincorporated associations should have been done away with. But it was maintained. It was maintained because by remaining unincorporated, the institution could be moved in whatever direction those who were elected to lead it wanted it to go, without accountability. We cannot have true democracy without accountability. So whatever I do going forward, it will be with a view to ensuring that we have accountability from the onset.
Castle Ricky Rock writes, wasn't character and integrity one of George Price's prerequisite for party leader? While Moses Self answers, Castle, not just character, but a track record of good character.
Certainly. And I will be the first to tell you that I am not perfect. But my character speaks for itself. I'm here every Thursday, offering myself to answer any question you may have. Because I believe you deserve to have representation that does not hide from you, but that affords you access to be able to ask the questions you want to ask, to get the answers you need to have to make an informed choice. So I continue, because it is my intention, with your support, to continue to be here, to lay out the vision for Belmopan and a new Belize.
Okay, well, we started earlier meetings and we spoke about the importance of good governance. We talked about the importance of health to our nation. We have another comment from Mr. Raul Castillo. So ashamed of those trustees of the People's United Party who no longer serve the people but themselves. And that's what we're seeing, to be quite honest. All right? And he continues, and who think that they are the party and that they own the party. All right. Personally, I will tell you this, and I share that sentiment, where I have seen personally, Arthur, the way they don't care about people anymore. It's about just themselves. All right. And I know I know it's hard for you to say certain things against a party.
I'm not going to be here
because
I don't want to have it be that I am bitter. I don't want that to go out there at all. I am not bitter. I embarked upon a process to assert and defend my rights. It is clear from the letter that was sent to me,
you have no rights,
that by standing up for my rights, I have offended the trustees. Even though they chose not to defend, they are offended. So be it. I will not bash. We are here to discuss development, economic development for Belmopan. I will come back to that. We will see how they react. But we have a program that we are set upon from last week. We prepared our program for this week, and we are going to carry through. We are not going to be distracted by this letter, because that's all it is, a distraction. But there is more important work to be done, and we must get to that work. And that work has to be how we move Belmopan forward in a way that impacts positively the lives of all 16,400 residents that are listed as residents here. Now, I do believe we have more than 16,400, but that's what the census says. The census has to be a little bit flawed because we have 10,175 registered voters. So if we have 10,175 registered voters and we have 16,400 people, they're saying that we only have 6,400 or 6,100 something children here. That's wrong. I don't think that that is correct. But check it. Check the figures. The official population of Belmopan is 16,400, while the registered population is 10,175. Therein lies corruption. Now, in terms of our economic development, it is an imperative that we seek to generate more private sector investment in Belmopan. How is it that we are going to do this? It first has to start with our tax regime, how we organize and structure our tax regime. That tax regime is influenced by the Belmopan City Council. We would know that yesterday, the Belmopan City Council had the experience of having a number of its workers stage a small protest because they were not being paid. Now, this is a very serious development when you consider that in the past, the city of Belmopan and its city council received 25% of the monies derived by Recondev from the sale of land in Belmopan. And we know that the sale of land continues. So we want to know what's happening with the 25% that is supposed to be given to the Belmopan City Council as a part of the profit sharing between Recondev and the City Council that was established by the first City Council that was made by Mr. Anthony Chanona. That profit sharing agreement was established from that time. Where is that money? Is that money still being given to the City Council? And couldn't that money be used to pay City Council workers? Because we know that land is still being sold hand over fist in Belmopan. This is a part of what has to be countenanced in terms of any development strategy for Belmopan. How do we engender the acquisition of more tax revenue without burdening the residents that are here with a requirement to pay more and receiving less? The only way we can do it is by engendering wealth creation, more private sector investment. We will get private sector investment through the establishment of an economic free zone or economic development zone in Belmopan and a commercial free zone. I go back to these things because they are important. And they're important mainly because we have not seen where the commercial free zone status has been used outside of the border regions. And it's not exclusive to border regions that these things can be established. In many other countries, they are established within inland cities. Guatemala City, for example, the development of Cayala, which is a suburb of Guatemala City, is a commercial free zone. The same can be done with Belmopan. We don't need to go far to find examples of meaningful ways to improve our economic condition. Certainly, we can also look at what is required in terms of providing value added to the things that we have locally. We can remember it was not too long ago that the then Minister of Forestry, I believe, can't bring her name right now, but she had famously burnt rosewood that was illegally harvested
from southern Belize.
Right? From southern Belize. We have this resource. Once we would put in an EPZ, export processing zone, we can invite those who have the skill to convert the raw rosewood to furniture for export to foreign markets. But burning of our natural resources is not a way to engender economic advancement. So there are a number of things that we can advance to change our position, not least among which is also using the resource of the diaspora as a means. You've heard week in and week out the discussion about the issue involving the Belizean diaspora and the fact that we are seeking to exclude them from participation in the democratic process. This is wrong, it is unconstitutional, should not be entertained. But I want to turn to what Israel has done with its diaspora. Because if we want to have an example of how the diaspora can be used to advance a nation's development agenda, Israel is the best example. The Israeli diaspora, we know, had its watershed moment after World War II with the establishment of the State of Israel, and that has its own issues, and there will be many who are against and many who are for. I am not coming at this from that point of view. I am simply coming at it from the development point of view. With all the exposure that Israelis had across the world, their access to technological advancement and innovation, they were able to bring that back to the area of Palestine that was carved out for the state of Israel and convert a desert into a prosperous land with a very robust economy. We have to look at that. We have to see what examples we can take from that if we are going to move forward meaningfully to develop Belize. What we have had and what we have seen in Belize thus far for the past 35 or 36 years of our independence is a culture of exclusion. We cannot engender development with only half of our population being given opportunity in any 5-year cycle. And when you really look at it, it's more like a third of the population, because our population is not restricted to what exists within the physical boundaries of Belize. So when we are talking about development without including those in the diaspora, which from every account is more to the extent of double our population size, then we are really talking about using only 30% of the human resource we have available at any given 5-year cycle to develop the entire nation. It cannot work. It cannot work. We have to engender policies that allows for everyone that wants to participate to be able to do so.
Reconnect. Got it.
Are we there?
Yes, we're there.
So I invite you guys, I invite everybody to participate, field your questions. I know we have had a late start, I know we have had our disruptions, but it is imperative that we continue with our program, and certainly what happened this Thursday will not happen next Thursday.
Okay, Michael Osha asked, why are we still supporting an anarchy institution as an archaic institution like Recondev, which financial abilities being used by corrupt leaders in government?
Yes, Mr. Mike, and this is exactly what I have been speaking out against. We need to abolish Recondev, have the City Council assume that role, allow for the City Council and those who are interested in municipal governance to develop a CDP or City Development Plan that would be a subset of the master plan for Belmopan. So we need a new plan without Recondev being a part. Recondev was brought into existence to manage Belmopan at a time when we had no city administration. We have city administration now, so it has become obsolete. It's only being maintained for petty political purposes, and it's creating great disruption in the Belmopan economy in terms of the capacity of the City Council to become viable in sustaining itself and carrying on the services that it needs to carry on. In my role and in the position that I seek to be the area representative for Belmopan, it is incumbent upon myself and those who I am engaged with to look to see how best we can expand Belmopan's capacity in terms of its economic growth to allow for greater revenue to be generated so that the municipality can do more for the residents of Belmopan.
All right. One of the things, looking back at the things we've done in the past, we first looked at a nation's health and being its wealth, because a human population that is healthy would be able to work. And once they're healthy, we said that education is the next step that needs enhancing. We looked at the security, at how Belmopan and Belmopanese need now more to be secure. We saw the news last night where there was this young man behind La Rivera who was chopped in his head because the persons were robbing him. So security has become a very potent issue here in Belmopan. We looked at our development, and today what we wanted more to focus on tonight was that of the economic sector, how to develop it properly so that we can bring jobs, so that the young people who are graduating from high school, from sixth form, from university can have hope that they will not just graduate and have a paper in their hand and then they go and they pump gas. All right? We have to make sure that when people put in their extra ounce, that they are able to find jobs. They're able to sustain a family, that they can contribute to the economic development of that country. All right? So looking at those issues, and because we started late, what I think we can do, with your permission, Arta, is to not get into too much of those details tonight that we had prepared, because we want to still look at some of the things that we hold there, things like the ICJ, trying to ensure that, and again, we saw a complaint now being lodged to the U.S. Embassy, where the funds that was given for educating the populace is not doing justice, because it is very one-sided.
Yes.
They tell you everything why you should go. They have not given our Belizean populace why they should not go, and there is a two-foot that you have to, if you're educating people, you should give them pros and cons.
Right.
And you don't decide for them, and that is a problem that we're fighting right now. We don't want people to just tell you what you should do, but for you to be able to be given the tools to make educated decisions on your own, to look at the pros, to look at the cons. So those are certain things we want to look at tonight.
The issue of the ICJ is also one of great economic importance, and we cannot belie that fact. We have to look at it and deal with it head on. In the next 10 to 20 years, the value of water, for example, is going to rival the value of oil. In fact, some may say it has already surpassed the value of oil, because access to potable water is becoming more and more scarce globally. When we are talking about the ICJ and what it portends for Belize, remember, Belize's watershed is all in the south. The Maya Mountains is in the south. Now, some people may say it's irresponsible to talk about there being a possibility that we could lose the watershed. But it's a possibility. We don't know how the court will rule.
Decide, yeah.
If we should go to the ICJ. So what happens in the event we lose the watershed? We lose our capacity to have clean running water. Look at what Guatemala has done with its own water resources. You want to give them access to ours now?
Not only that, what we have to realize that whether we like it or not, the southern part of Belize holds most of our industries, the banana, the rice, the citrus. All right, those things are what really our economic development or our foreign exchange depends on. All right. So what will happen when, for some, because all these cases that we have been told that are airtight have fall apart in the past couple of years. So are we going to trust that again, where these airtight cases that we have seen, where we have to pay so much for, and now this is our resource.
Let's look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The argument for going to the ICJ centers around the issue that a border treaty or a boundary treaty, once established, is a law unto itself. It's once you've signed it and it's accepted, you cannot change it. Well, fine. If that is the case, and you cannot change it, and it's recognized in international law that once the boundary treaty has been signed, it's sacrosanct, then why bother going? Why bother going? The boundary treaty was signed in 1859. We became independent in 1981. At the time the boundary treaty was signed, Belize was not even a thought in the minds of the English. The English who signed that treaty with Guatemala weren't thinking about an independent Belize in 1859. So when Belize became independent, we bore no responsibility for what was done or not done in terms of the conditions laid out in that 1859 treaty. But when we accepted that responsibility, it opened the door. And now that that door is open, it is incumbent upon us to be vigilant, to safeguard ourselves against any possibility of exploitation to the extent that we would suffer loss. Because any loss that we suffer will have a detrimental economic effect. Article 2 of the Compromise gives Guatemala the ability to make a claim to whatever percentage or whatever part of Belize it seeks to make a claim for. We don't know what that claim will be. We don't know how the claim will be fashioned. We have been put in a position where we will not know until after the referendum is done. So if you vote yes, it will be revealed to you what the claim will be. How can we go through a process like that? That is basically putting yourself in a position where someone is inviting you to play Russian roulette, but you do not get to see the gun or how many bullets are in the chamber before it's put to your head. We know from watching television and seeing movies that when they play Russian roulette, it's one bullet in a revolver and they spin the chamber. But in this situation with the Compromise, every hole has a bullet. So there is no chance that you are not going to get shot. Why go? The unknown, the uncertainty and the unknown outweighs what is known. The only thing that is known to us is that we are being asked to go to a referendum. We do not know what the extent of Guatemala's claim will be once that referendum passes, if it passes. We will not know that until after. So until after the gun is to your head and the trigger is pulled, then and only then you will know. Man, just follow the analogy. You'll be gone by then. You'll be gone. And this is where we stand in Belize. The litigation risk is too high to countenance. The prospect of loss, too severe to entertain. There is another way. Our house, the Belizean house, has to be put in order. I have been trying to put the People's United Party house in order in my way. And even though it was acknowledged that the house was not in order, the present occupants have decided to maintain its state of disrepair. We cannot have the same with our country. We have to do better for Belize. And the way we do better for Belize is to ensure that every Belizean has both sides of the argument before they make a decision. I am not imposing my position on anyone. My position is born of the knowledge that I have from reading the various articles, the various treatises, and the books that have been published by Assad Schumann. Insofar as the scholarship of Assad Schumann, I will never ever dispute his good scholarship, but I will dispute his conclusion. His conclusion is not the best for us. And I say that with all due respect. His scholarship and the research put in, with all the first-hand accounts of the various meetings, of the various treaties, the border treaties, the 1931 meeting with Belize and Guatemala and everything else, I agree with all of that. I am grateful for him to bring all that information forward. But the recommendation that the ICJ is the answer, I cannot accept.
Okay. And then you have the case with the diaspora not being able to vote, and we saw where people from Guatemala coming in to register, and again the way our new registration system is commencing. All right.
Yes.
Again, lot to be desired, where as far as we're concerned is not as transparent as it should be.
Right. Well, I believe I had mentioned this earlier today on another forum. But we've had the situation where persons coming in from Melchor, the Belizean diaspora in Guatemala, have been allowed to register without the requirement of being ordinarily resident in Belize. I don't believe that they are giving a Guatemalan address when they come to register, but buses have been tracked coming from the border, going to the various election and boundaries stations in Benqueviejo and other places in the Cayo North and Cayo Central division, where people are disembarked and gone and registered and then returned to Melchor. Now, they have the ease of transportation to come from across the border and do this. But you are saying that the Belizean diaspora in Europe, North America, Africa, Asia, they are not being afforded that same opportunity, that same right. That is discrimination. And where that discrimination is evidenced, it is actionable and capable of correction.
With regards to us going to the ICJ, writes Moses Self, first, the government should not get pro-government presenters. They should get persons who are properly informed in the matter and then let them present the information. One moment. Wait, right now. Information to the populace. Do they, so they can determine in an objective and informed way if they will decide we should go or not. Personally, from just common sense and history, that Guatemala was never colonized, hence they can have no valid claim. Should we lose even a mile within our border, we lose. We still lose. In this matter, we are the only part in the legislative matter that can lose. Guatemala has nothing to lose.
Precisely.
Let's not gamble with what we have. Thirdly, I'd like to ask Mr. Saldiva, can a social justice take the government and the Minister of Immigration to get an injunction barring them from giving them nationality to any Guatemalan as constitutionally state, as the Constitution states clearly?
I believe at this moment, Moses, they are not doing it. They have discontinued the practice of giving Guatemalan citizenship, at least for this period. And now the only test of that will be another audit. But we must remember that the Senate Select, or the Select Senate Committee inquiring the immigration scandal had unearthed that there were over 2,000 Guatemalans that were illegally granted citizenship. Where is that report? Who are those 2,000? And what is the status of those passports? That is the most likely place to start. This is not something that we are surmising or guessing. This was an admission and an exposition by the then Director of Immigration, Ruth Main. So it behooves me that the opposition has not been clamoring to have those 2,000 persons be exposed and their citizenship revoked. We know that in many of the constituencies where the opposition lost, those 2,000 unconstitutionally registered Guatemalans played a very major
Vital
role. So it is, I am a bit taken aback. I'm flabbergasted at the laziness, the utter disregard for what is required by the opposition in their lack of interest in dealing with the matter. That much I will say.
All right. I'm not sure how, because we started late. It's after 9:30. Are we continuing, or there is no questions from the floor at this time? And I think everybody is kind of not sure where to go.
Well, I had given an invitation to Mr. Eamon Courtney. An invitation was extended to Eamon Courtney to come on the program and discuss his views and let us know what is the issue that he has with me. Besides Melanie Cohen.
Oi! Ooh! Hi! Fire! Fire!
I was hoping that he would have, graced me with his presence tonight. I guess he has decided against it, as is his prerogative.
Yeah.
But the invitation remains open. We will have a lively debate. But certainly my focus remains on Belmopan, and we will continue with our town halls. We will engender to ensure that we do not have the technical difficulties we experienced tonight on the other nights.
We'll make sure. We will do some tests before the time.
You see? So take heart. Understand that I'm in it for the long haul.
And you're here to serve people, not yourself.
Precisely.
And that's a difference.
So we are going from the expectation of a short sprint to a convention to a marathon
In
for
an
a general election.
Amen.
With your support.
From your page, when will they approve Arthur? When will they approve you to run Arthur? These guys are pussyfooting around, still pandering as to how to stop you. If people they want, if the people they want, not Belmopan people, one moment, not Belmopan people, are that good? Then they have nothing to fear. We're getting tired of the people who think they own the party. Wait one moment. Let the people of Belmopan decide. And then Michael Usher writes, I am requesting those promoting the whispering campaign against Arthur Saldiva produce their evidence.
There's no evidence for them to produce, Mr. Mike. This is not a position based on substance. It's one that's based on petty personal grievances. Now, I do understand that the person who came forward on national TV to disparage me, Mr. Courtney, is a senior person in the profession that I'm a part of. But that does not in any way impact me and my ability to move forward. I will not be bullied, not by anyone. I became a member of the People's United Party on my own volition. And what I do next, I do on my own volition. But whatever I do next, it will be with and for the people of Belmopan. This is my home. I was told that I could run in College Division.
You can't run
I
in
was
Belmopan.
told that I could run
in Kaya South.
in Kaya South. So why would I be good for College Division? And why would I be good for Kaya South but not good for Belmopan? So I'm telling you, my people of Belmopan,
they're selling it out. My view.
that you are not in the contemplation of those
in the
hierarchy of the PUP for representation. You are being given persons who I do not believe have the capacity to do what is necessary to advance your cause, our cause in this constituency. I will not say anything negative about these people. I hold no ill will towards them. They have not made any decision adverse to me. They have become beneficiaries, however, of a very flawed and corrupt process.
Moses Self right Arthur, before you finish, would you be able to say anything on what Mr. Amon Courtney has done towards the development of the country with regards to contributing towards the many poor children? Wait right now. Somebody wrote and it went up. One moment. Towards the development of the country with regards to contributing to many poor children looking for opportunities. He has contributed to the development of sport as an attorney who has millions in private practice. He donates his senatorial salary towards any feeding programs in school for the needy, etc. Do you know?
I don't know, Moses. I have no idea. That's the reason why I had invited him, so that he could tell us how he has been making his contribution.
Okay.
But again, he has not taken up the invitation.
And then Amira Smith's right, let the Amon Courtney know that Saldiva family will not be bullied. Raul Castillo, the party leader, and his minions have sold out the city of Belmopan, and they have made a deal to hand over Belmopan to John Saldiva.
Well, I see the outgoing era rep as a man who is really and truly, his time has expired. And at this particular juncture is simply about retooling and getting back on the ground, building consensus for a new era in Belmopan where we can bring forward great opportunities for our people across the board in education, health, sports, the entire 9 yards. In fact, Dion Macaulay, I had failed to mention about Dion Macaulay. Dion Macaulay is listed as one of the richest people in Belize, one of the 10 richest people in Belize. No, he did that in spite of the outgoing era rep. Those of you who do not remember Dion Macaulay, he is one of Belize's best strikers. And there was a time when he was playing for the Belmopan Bandits, the team owned by the outgoing era rep. Mr. Macaulay was so talented that international teams, when he went to play abroad, had interest in him, and they offered him contracts. But the outgoing era rep, in his way doing things, sought to stifle, restrict, hold down Dion Macaulay. He had to go through legal wranglings to escape. Thank God he did. He is now flourishing in the United States, having signed a very lucrative contract, the biggest contract for a Belizean athlete. So there is a way for us to gain opportunities through sport and through investment in sport. What John Saldiva is doing in Belmopan with the Belmopan Bandits and the Isidro Stadium is exploitation, not investment and development. He's exploiting our youth, exploiting our people. This is no knock on Belmopan Bandits fans, no knock on those who follow the team, but understand that this entire situation involving that team is a facade. It's a tool of exploitation, not a tool for development. Dion Macaulay is the greatest example of that fact.
Okay. And Amira Smith writes, Raul, this is not over, and Otta will prevail in Belmopan. Confidence.
We will.
Confidence.
And with
that note, we say thank you for joining us.
Good night.
And good night.